Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillah nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruhu wa nu'minu bihi wa natawakkalu ilayhi. Uh, this is our, I think, fourth session. We are studying um, Enneagram, Sufi Enneagram. I will start with a Quranic verse. Why we are studying Enneagram. Just to repeat what we have discussed briefly in the past. Um, in the Quran, in Surah Qaf, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, وَلَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ وَنَعْلَمُ مَا يُوَسْوِسُ بِهِ نَفْسُهُ وَنَحْنُ أَقْرَبُ إِلَيْهِ مِنْ حَبْلِ الْوَرِيدِ. So here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that we created a human being and we know what his innermost self whispers within him, and he is very close to us. Hablil Warid, this jugular vein. So, main objective for us, why we are working on Enneagram. Ennea means 9. Diagram, dia is 2, or Ennea means 9. Gram is the drawing or the sketch. So it's a 9-point diagram we are studying. Why? Because we are spiritual being having a human experience in this plane. We are a spiritual being having a human experience in this plane, but we forgot most of our spirit because this social conditioning is such that we are not seeing God. We are not seeing even our own spirit. And the way Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, this hadith, which we all know, hadith Jibril, which is a Sahih Muslim hadith, which Hazrat Umar ibn Khattab um, described it. He said, Jibril alayhi salam said, Al-Ihsan an ta'budullah ka'annaka tarahu. So Ihsan is to pray to Allah as if you see him. Ka'annaka tarahu. Lam takun tarahu فَإِنَّهُ يَرَاكَ. If you don't see him, he sees you. And Ibn Arabi is saying, to see Allah, ta'budu ka'annaka tarahu, because you can see Allah in this world. You have to see him in alam al-khayal, because you have to go to ka'annaka, which is alam al-khayal. And Ibn Arabi say, alam al-khayal is in barzakh. And in barzakh, you can see Allah. And now to see Allah in barzakh, you need a qalb which can reflect Allah, which Allah's light comes to your heart. And our heart is so corrupted, we needed to clean it. And this Enneagram is a methodology which is compiled based on the teachings of great sheikhs, Hazrat Ibn al-Arabi, Maulana Jalaluddin Rumi, Muhasibi, Sulami, all Sufis. But of course, its origin in mainly Naqshbandi Tariqa originally started it, as you know, from Gurdjieff, popularized it, this Enneagram to the Western world, and later Laleh Bakhtiar gone back to the origin and then redesigned the whole, brought it back the original Rumi diagram. So Rumi used it, but of course it was not fully documented. So that's the understanding. So we have ideas like Sufi chivalry, futuwa. We have, various methodology. Even in modern world, people uses as you know, Benjamin Franklin, before he became president of America, he tried on methodology how to bring various divine virtues into his life. And he worked on one divine virtue every week. And then he identified what virtues he need, and it took him so many years. And we know about that. And there is a various Sufi tariqa, they have their own methodology. One of the methodology familiar is Hazrat Inayat Khan. They have called rule for the nafs. They call iron rule, silver rule, golden rule, and 10 rules for each. And each one they work on 40 days. And so they keep on doing this until they finish all. And once they finish, they give them a title called knighthood. So, so yeah, with that note, um, I wanted to start this Sufi Enneagram, this preface of this book, which is called Symbol. So that symbol it explains and the process briefly. So and in Sufi Enneagram, this diagram, which is that 9-point diagram, is called face of Allah, Wajhullah. As you see, sign of the presence of God, which is called Wajhullah. Where did she got that title from? It's from this Quranic verse. Because in ayat number 115, Surah Baqarah, it said, وَلِلَّهِ الْمَشْرِقُ وَالْمَغْرِبُ فَأَيْنَمَا تَوَلُّوا فَثَمَّ وَجْهُ اللَّهِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ وَاسِعٌ عَلِيمٌ. So God's is the east and the west. Whichever way you turn, you see the face of Allah, Wajhullah. Inna Allah wasiyun alim. Allah is all encompassing and He is all knowing. So you can see Him whichever way you turn. So I turn left, right, front. I see all these objects. How do you recognize the face of Allah? Because everything is Allah's name, as Ibn Arabi says. But as I mentioned in the other hadith, Ibn Arabi is saying, if you want to see Him, you have to see Him through Alam al-Khayal. And that's why this diagram, this 9-point diagram, it has the methodology we will be working on. The goal of the Sufi Enneagram is moral healing, muruwa, through spiritual warfare or greater struggle, jihad al-akbar, which is the tajkiya nafs, by becoming a fair and just person. That is our target. There are many practices and methods developed in traditional society to morally heal, but the major one upon which the sign of presence of God, Wajhullah, rests is that of the greater struggle, which is this diagram. When undertaken with the roadmap of Sufi Enneagram, Wajhullah, the struggle can lead, in a sense, to the realization of ourself as a work of God's art. So, human is the God's art. So that's art, which is nothing but the image of Allah. That's what we said. We have been surah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that is his art. So we will have the realization of that face. And then the process of the greater struggle involves learning to relate to the reality, the truth, supreme being. So we have to learn to relate to the divine, the truth, how you relate it. We have to relate to nature in all of its divinely created form in a balanced and fair way. So that is what we are going to learn. The process of greater struggle, Jihad Akbar, involves learning to relate to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is she's calling theoethics. She has 3 levels: theoethics, psychoethics, socioethics. So first relating to Allah and nature, and then this learning process begins by knowing who we are, knowing the self, and becoming conscious of our place in the universe. And beginning with the self, we will learn the importance of using reason, the intellect, to control our desires. How we control our desires, that is one of the things we will learn. It's called psychoethics. And the use of balanced reasoning in our relations with others, socioethics. In our last session, we covered there was a 30 um, behavior Prophet ﷺ wanted us, and we read that hadith. That is in chapter 1 in the overview we have discussed. So that is socioethics. So theoethics, relationship to Allah and nature, ourself, managing our desires, all the thing related to nafs, and then socioethics, how you relate to others. And once we can capture those knowledge, and we will be able to do a lot of, we're calling soul work. Soul work is the, we did body work, riyada, gym, and this is the psycho work or soul work. That's what we will be doing using this 9-point Wajhullah model. And he's saying at the level of psychoethics, it means to be centered. We needed to centering, we need to learn how to do centering. And what centering helps? It means we are able to use balanced reasoning to control our passions, which brings us desire. At the level of socioethics, it means we deal with others in a fair and just manner, and putting others and their needs before our own needs. And in regard to our relationship with reality, to put things in their proper place, to accept reality as a trust giver, we as trustee. So when we operate on these three levels in the manner described and are confirmed by others for our sense of fairness, we have won the greater struggle for moral healing. Basically, that's our job. We need to win Jihad Akbar, the Tazkiyah Nafs, and we needed to use this Enneagram. And I'll just share my screen. This book we are reading, there is a 3 books we will be reading. One is this book, which is, I shared the PDF. It's called Volume 1, Traditional Psychoethics and Personality Paradigm. So that's the Volume 1. And as you see, God's will be done, because according to Ibn Arabi and also in Quran, without God's guidance and God's assistance, nobody can achieve or win this war. You cannot purify your heart unless God's mercy, God's guidance is fallen on you. And we all, in every Jumu'ah, Imam tells us that lama if Allah doesn't guide you, nobody can guide you. If Allah misguides you, nobody can stop it. That is the thing. Man yahdillah wa man yudlilhu fala hadiya lah. Yeah, that was the thing he was saying. So this is the volume 2. This is the volume 2, and this is the volume 3. But this volume 1, we have 3 chapters. One is called topography. We touched last class and a class before. What is the architecture of the soul? How our mind, body, soul is distributed, and what part of that mind, body, soul topography or geography we will be focusing on as a part of this jihad and nafs. What are the tools and weapons we need? And then what is the structure? How we understand the structure of this, our own soul work, how it will be, we will be able to do it. And then various parts in the physical body, how it interact with our psyche. So this and dynamics of it. So yeah, these are the things we will be touching. In the topography, we have already covered that is spirit, which is our ruh, and then we this preserving of species and preserving of individualism, and then intellect, how we use intellect to control the attraction to pleasure versus repulsion of pain, because these are the two things we have to deal with when we are dealing with this jihad. And then, of course, we need to have our cognition, which is the realization and understanding, tahqiq. And we have two things. One is the called affective system. What are the things will affect us? A, and what are the behavior as a result of that effect? We will discuss those sort of things, and we covered some of it in the beginning of the our first lecture. We covered how those topography is related, and how wisdom and temperance and courage um, helps us to do the psychoethical work, and how we can bring balance through wisdom, temperance, and courage, bring justice at the heart, and how we work on this cognitive system, behavioral system, and affective system with over um, versus under. So if you have a over lust, greed will attack you. If you have an under courage, then you will be lazy. So those sort of things. There is a lot of psychological analysis, and most of the examples are taken from Masnavi. And we have this book called uh, this book called Rumi's Original Sufi Enneagram. So that's where all the examples are. And I have already shared some of the slides and some of the video training materials which Laleh Bakhtiar has given as I think actually a 3-day workshop. And she walked us through the entire system, and she gave us a lot of examples, and I'll suggest to watch those videos at your own time, and then we can bring examples from there. So I have taken the slides she shared in that video, and I've already sent the link um, uh, to go through those slides time to time, so that you can update, because this concept is a bit complex, because human being to understand your own self is not very easy. So I am not an expert on it. I am learning, and I looking for a partner, and Rad raised his hand to come forward to work with me, and so that we can learn together, and then we will do soul work and share our dream, and how various virtue versus vices we are trying to, we are takhallaku bi akhlaqillah, how we create akhlaq in our akhlaq, God's color. We want to bring God's color in our life, and how we can bring it, and how we fight. There is a Ruhul Qudus Ibn Arabi book, which it says that counseling the soul. That book we will be referring. There is another book called Tadviratul Ilahiyah, that how do you manage the government, the kingdom, human kingdom, and how you do tadbirat. So that is a very beautiful book. Those two books will be our another core reference book. We will be referring to it. And even as you know, in our first class, we have covered that this circle came from Tadbiratul Ilahiyah. That first diagram, which she explained that the circle we start, that that came from Ibn Arabi. So, so this is the one. He says that this is the tradition, and Ibn Arabi says, know that we call God's deputy. So we are all God's deputy, Khalifatullah, and that is the spirit, which is the ruh we have been given, and that the center of the circle of existence, and that is the one. And God entrusted it with this honored state because he knew its potential to rule in justice within the domain of each individual human being. So that is the justice we fail to do. And that's what Adam did when he did injustice to his soul by disobeying Allah, and that's why he said, Rabbana zulumna anfusana. So that zulum we are doing all the time, and that's what we are trying to win, so that we don't zulum anymore onto our soul and others. With that note, I will give the floor to Rad to start his lecture, or the walkthrough on the chapter 3, the structure of the volume 1. Rad.
Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum, brother. Thank you so much for that introduction. It's really insightful. And just like Brother Noor was saying, we like I regard myself more as a student still learning. I'm not expert in this. Noor has more experience in the Sufi Enneagram than me, and he's humbling himself when he's saying he's student, but he's guiding all of us, mashallah, as you can see, it's evidence. So like, alhamdulillah. But I'll just start with a little prayer in the beginning. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We empty our hearts of speculative thought and sit in remembrance together with the truly real on the carpet of spiral tact, inner attention, presence, and willingness to receive whatever comes from him. Exalted is he. So that it is the truth itself who is in charge of teaching us by means of unveiling and spiritual realization. And this is because they have heard in the Quran God saying, be conscious of God and he will instruct you. If you have a reverent awareness of God, he will grant you discernment and say, Lord, increase my knowledge. And we have taught him knowledge coming directly from us. As Brother Noor was saying, wish Allah is a very powerful aspect that was shared with Laleh Bakhtiar, and the 9 points. This is not the exact 9 points or whatever, but it's just the aspect of it, and how Noor is talking about the center. The outer shell is essentially the Brother Noor, you can remind me, is that the spirit, well, this is the non-existent, and then this is the spirit, and the spirit goes into the middle, or something like that, and we have to try and center ourselves to the center. Some people don't like to be categorized in numbering, and this is why a lot of people back away from the psychological aspect. They fear knowing themselves, and this is the biggest problem in society today, and in ancient times. It's always been reminiscence of human, that they don't want to dig inside. They like to experience life the outside. And me and Brother Noor, we're just talking about this, funny enough, is that there is the unfortunate side, that there is Islam al-Kharigi, where they just concentrate on the 5 pillars of Islam, and it's not there. The Islam al-Dakhili, the inner Islam, it's being neglected, unfortunately, and everything comes from within us. And alhamdulillah, there are beautiful people in the world today, and throughout all time. It's just about finding them. There's beautiful books, just about finding them, and this all comes with the will of Allah, and of the mending of hearts, and of being like of Jabbar, basically, of Jabbar. With that in mind, I wish Allah, etymology wise, like how Dr. Ali always teaching us about going into the root of the words, and his guidance has always opened up our hearts, is that there are several references in the Quran. Surah Al-Baqarah, there are 2 references where it's Wajhu Allah, and then another ayah where it says Wajhi Allah. So one is the face, and the other is the face. And then there is Surah 30, ayah 38 9, and 39 is Wajha. And Wajha Allah, in this aspect, it can be a facial appearance regarding indication of mood or feeling, but it also can mean the countenance. And the countenance is like a pleasant countenance that puts visitors at ease. And the synonyms of countenance is expression, look, face, appearance, manner, demeanor, composure, equilibrium, which is a very important word because we are trying to find equilibrium in this enneagram of if I'm a number 4 designated in my soul, because there is a difference between the soul and the spirit. My soul, if it's the persona within my soul, is a number 4, which is the individualist, for example, that I need to try and get my number 4, which is, as you can see on the screen, on the outer end here, on the bottom, and try and center myself. But before even centering myself, there is a whole pattern and procedure to get into the center. But also there is, so the equilibrium, and then the verb of this wajha is accept, tolerate, favor, support, and approval. So we can use the, I was using the word support and favor of wajh Allah, and the ayah Brother Nur used in Surah Al-Baqarah, ayah 115, and Allah belongs to the east and the west. So wherever you might turn, there is the favor of Allah or the countenance of Allah. Indeed, Allah is all encompassing and all knowing. Wasa'ihu wa alim. But it's beautiful, subhanAllah. God is giving us always patterns and indications of this. And Maham, do you have the ayah of Sabgh Allah by any chance?
Yeah, Assalamu alaikum.
Can,
I do.
can you read that Sabgh Allah part, please?
Right. Just that ayah, right? Ayah 138,
I
Surah
just want
Baqarah.
I just want the Sabgh Allah. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم صبغة الله ومن أحسن من الله صبغة ونحن له عابدون. Would you like the translation?
Yes, please.
Um, we take our color from Allah, and who is better than Allah at coloring? We are His worshippers.
Shukran, Habib. So the word sabgha as well in this regard in the etymology of in Arabic is to die. And subhanallah, we are all as human beings, regardless of our gender, or brothers, sisters, whatever, but we are essentially spirits, and we are all cut from the same cloth. When we humans come to dye cotton, for example, linen, we dye it. It's originally white, but then we dye it in this color and this color and this color. But we are all really from essentially the same kind of material, essentially. But some people are made out of leather. Some people are made out of polyester and linen and cotton. But it's this dyeing aspect, subhanallah, God's touch, his sabgha, his fingerprint, his eye retina is within all of us that makes us unique but unites all of us as one. And this is the beauty of the Enneagram. It's relation as well with Noon. We can go into the subject and get lost in the rabbit hole. I want to focus on this whole structure. Shukran, brother, for bringing those two ayahs up. You see, you always inspire me, Habibi. Alhamdulillah. But I want to go and talk about last week we didn't finish the topography, and we'll come back to that and finish that next week, next 2 weeks, inshallah. So Brother Noor asked me to do the structure, and here I am. I'm a student, remember. I'm not an expert in this. I'm just giving my reflections, and I hope this inspires all of us to better ourselves, inshallah. So I'm going to read this small part in the introduction of the structure, which is: the self is generated out of the divine spirit and natural dispositions of the mineral, plant, and animal forms, which are part of Takwini guidance. It then may evolve the ability of consciousness through Tashairi guidance. This enhances the actualization of conscience and free will as the self's own special natural disposition. Now, I want to tackle this paragraph here. It's very beautiful. There's a lot of information that we need to try and absorb. And I'll tackle the first one, which is the divine spirit, subhanAllah. And the divine spirit, as we know it, we were doing the moving out yesterday, and there was aspects of Sayyidina Gabriel, and we brought up Ibn Arabi's passage in Fatahat, where it mentioned the eagle stone and further revelation after that, we realized that Ibn Arabi was meeting with Sayyidina Gabriel, and Sayyidina Gabriel can come into human form because he is made out of the light of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But this is why some humans can see Gabriel and interact with Gabriel in this regard. Now, the divine spirit has a connotation um, with Jesus, and I'll get to that. But I want to intertwine the divine spirit with the mineral, plant, and animal forms. So it's essentially four things. And I'm going into what is the Takwini guidance and Tash'iri guidance. So I'll read so that some people might have not remembered what these two aspects are. So the first is Takwini, or primordial universal guidance, which all of nature receives, human or otherwise, as part of their fitrat, or natural disposition. Universal guidance regulates whatever is created in nature through a natural, unreflective process to implementing God's will. Al-Ghazal explains on this type of guidance by saying he guides the young bird to pick up the seed from the time of its hatching. He guides the bee to build its house in a hexagonal form. So then we're going to talk about Tashrini, which is Tash'iri, which is the second type of both internal and external guidance, is Tash'iri, acquired guidance, referring to guidance through the commands of revelation. It is rational in orientation and therefore the special guidance of the human being alone. If accepted as guidance in the perspective of submission to the will of God, Islam, acquired guidance becomes yet another gift to one who actually does, submitting to the will of God, which is Muslim. It is a particular kind of guidance in a sense because it speaks to human consciousness. It is to elucidate this kind of guidance that God sends prophets and divine law as reinforcement against the forgetful and negligent human beings, declaring on the day of judgment, we were unaware of this, 7173. So with this in mind, some analysis came up, and I was the plant, mineral, animal, and the human aspect. Now, with these four in mind, there are some stories that I'd like to share, which was the plant. There is a reference in Ibn Kathir's story of the Prophet where the tree kind of swallows Sayyidina Zakaria. He hides from the people coming to murder him because, and I'll talk about this shortly. Then Surah Al-Kahf, in a poetic kind of form way that the cave swallows the friends of the cave in a sense, and they go into a time warp. This is the mineral aspect. The animal aspect, Sayyidina Yunus, when he is in the belly of the whale, he's being swallowed by the whale. And the human aspect, which is debatable, but it's a human side of Sayyidina alayhi salam, Jesus. So I'm going to just tackle each one very quickly in this regard. First one, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So I'm going to go with Jesus first, where which is a beautiful thing because Jesus is regarding as the kalam, and the first words of Jesus is the most important, I think, that shows a lot of revelation. And this is, I think, the part, no, Mary decided. One second, I'm just going to find the part where, yes, there it is. So this is while Mary is still in like a perplexity, and the people, they scold her. This is a terrible sin that you have committed. She put her finger her lips and pointed to the child. They ask, how can we speak to a newborn baby? To their total amazement, the child began to speak clearly. I am Allah's servant. Allah has given me the book and has made me a prophet and blessed me wherever I may be and has enjoyed on me prayers and almsgiving as long as I live. Allah has made me dutiful towards she who had borne me. He has not made me arrogant or unbiased. Peace unto me the day I was born, the day I die, and the day I shall be raised alive. Okay. And this is a very beautiful document. I'll share it in the group. I found it was really cool. And I love the story of Khidr, basically. And then there was this beautiful part where it's like there is this connection with water. Water is one of the many similarities between Khidr and Jesus. Both walk on water. Some reports of Jesus portray him as dripping wet. They are both assumed into heaven without dying. Both wear wool. Both have a profound connection with vegetation, and they are both alienated from the rest of humanity. In the later instance, Khidr has been linked to the biblical Melk Nasik, without father, without mother, without descent, having neither being of days nor end of life, but made like unto the Son of God by a priest continually. This is a biblical reference. And there is a beautiful poem by Rumi, which was ties in a little bit. It's like Rumi contemplating destruction explains, the cold wind became a murderer for the people of Ad, but for Solomon it served as a porter. Elsewhere he writes, how many enmities were friendship, how many destructions were renovation. Now, to the animal aspect is Sayyidina Yunus, where as Allah commanded the largest whale in the ocean surface and swallowed Yunus, just as he hit the water. The whale then descended to the depths of the ocean. Yunus, who was initially unconscious, awoke to find himself enveloped by 3 layers of darkness. The first layer is the night's darkness, then the sea's darkness, and lastly, the dark confines of the whale's stomach. He believed he was in his grave, but as his senses awakened, he realized that he was not in his grave, but was, in fact, in the stomach of a large fish. Deep in the stomach of the whale, Prophet Yunus prostrated to Allah, subhanahu wa ta'ala, and said, "O Allah, I am prostrating to you in a place where no one has prostrated to you before, in the stomach of a fish." He then cried out to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, engulfed in the layers of darkness, repeating, "There is no God but you. There is no God but you. Glory be to you. I have done wrong." The creatures of the deep sea heard the invocations of Yunus alayhi salam and gathered around the whale to join in the celebration of the praises of Allah. SubhanAllah. No, okay, so this one, I think we did the plants, Zakaria. We need to do Mr. Zakaria, which I will actually read from my book here because I couldn't find it online. And Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So Ibn Jarir has mentioned in his book of history that people accuse Zakaria of having relations with Maryam, and thus they sought to kill him. He fled from them and hid inside a tree, but they followed him and sawed him into 2 while he was inside the tree. So this is that aspect. So I was just trying to make a connection between the plant, mineral, animal, and the human. And this is the part of the Takwini universal kind of guidance. And we do get guidance from all of these stories, subhanAllah. There are some aspects towards that. Now, regarding the minerals, which Brother Noor mentioned, I think it was in our first class, was very beautiful. The minerals contribute preservation of the forms of 4 elements, earth, air, fire, and water, and their properties of cold and dry, hot and wet, hot and dry, cold and wet, respectively. Now, there was a part where it was like the cold and the dry, we make it into the weather patterns. Cold and dry is very similar to fog. Fog in actual sensations and feeling of the human being can be a depression in a sense where you can't see it clearly. And in relation to the seasons, it's like when fall happens. Some people have the winter, the what's it called? Not winter. It's like, you know, when it's approaching the fall, people come a little bit bluey, kind of thing. The hot and the wet is like thunder, and this is an aspirate, like it's a bit of fear, hope, a bit of maybe joy that it's finished the thunder as well. This could be related just before the springtime. Hot and dry, it's humid, and this can have the anger kind of and irritation sensation for the human, and this is like the summer season. The cold and the wet is usually like stormy weather, but stormy kind of yeah, stormy weather. And it has this sadness, this kind of fear, and this phlegm that needs to come out, sort of thing, a flushing. And this is related to the winter kind of place. So now that we've done this section, if someone can read the natural dispositions, where are you? Bismillah. If someone can start like, anyway, you don't need to raise your hand, just jump in, whoever's first to read. We're just going to read natural dispositions. Just going to read this section here, all of this section, okay? Does anyone want to read? No one? No one? Okay, I will read. Okay, so natural dispositions of minerals. The elements in the traditional perspective develop in the atmosphere between the moon and the earth. Once the earth, they are preserved in the mineral soul or nature in its mode of operation as the will of God. The elements are earth, air, fire, and water. Earth is dry and cold. Water is cold and moist. Air is hot and moist. The fire is hot and dry. Earth is the opposite of air, and water is the opposite of fire. Union is possible because water acts as an intermediary between earth and air acts as an intermediary between water and fire. The elements possess the natural disposition to ascend, descend, and to move in a circular direction. Each element is joined by one of its qualities to that which is below it and above it. Water to earth below it, and by coldness, and water to air above by moisture. Air to water below it by moisture, and to fire above it by heat. Fire to air below it by heat, and to earth, towards which it inclines in a circular motion by dryness. Earth to water above it by coldness, and to fire, which declines towards it by dryness. The elements are continually produced one from the other, and their energy is never lost. The movement of the elements produce the humours, within which, in turn, one's natural temperament is determined. Two other functions these qualities have is that of being active or passive. Heat and cold are active, while moisture and dryness are passive. Heat and cold are considered active because sometimes they draw on moisture and sometimes on dryness. A correspondence also exists between fire and understanding, air and reason, water and imagination, and earth and the external senses, where the four qualities are again repeated. Fire is likened to sight, air to hearing, water to taste and smell, and earth to feeling. Now, natural dispositions of plants. We need, does anyone want to read? No? I'm having enough listening to my own voice. I need a break.
If you want, we can show the diagram. The
Where, yeah,
diagram
where,
referred to that page.
oh, yeah, 1 second. Let me get that.
Yeah, because that diagram.
So this one, yeah?
Yeah, the page number 50.
51 seconds. Let me get there. Where are you? There. So for the entire page 50, huh?
Yeah, page 50. If you show that diagram, how that moon, earth, active, passive.
Yeah. This one, right? Yeah.
So basically, we human being, we have air because we are breathing air, right? And our body has all the other four elements, right? Water, which is, of course, just like the earth has 2/3 is water, 1/3 is the land, and 2/3 is the sea. Our body also has more than 5 kilo of water. So 2/3 of our body construction it has this, the blood channel, which is watery. And in the blood and the other plasma, of course, the water is a big component. And then it has minerals, because we eat minerals every day, fruit, veggies, our bone is calcium, our teeth is calcium, and also our eye has phosphorus. So all this whole body has so many minerals. And because of those, we have this dryness, coldness, which coldness is, as you see, coldness and moisture is with the water, two sides of it. And on the two sides of air is heat and moisture. And the fire has the heat and dryness on both sides of fire. And as you see, earth component has coldness and dryness. That is the earth. So that is how the air is. But if you look at the moon nature and earth nature, so as you see there, fire, water, and on both sides is air, and then the water and fire. So these are the other aspect of it, which is in our body. We are talking self. This thing is not outside us. This is all we have. And the same thing is, if you look at hot, air and fire make us hot. And then of course, cold, as you see there, earth and water can make you cold. And if you look at the other half, say if you up and down, you see one kind of nature in our body we feel. And if you look this side, then it has another aspect of it. So when we have these various imbalances happen, that's when our mood changes. So our body can be active with some of this material, and some other materials or elements can be passive. So, and of course, it's a circular thing. Okay, how moonly nature is basically reflection. Earth is reflected in us. Sun is reflected on the moon. So how moon is, because with the flow of moon, the full moon versus empty moon, and the dark moon, the tidal wave goes up and down, and gravitational force goes up and down. And they based on that, our atmosphere gets affected, and our body gets affected. Our blood pressure, oxygen, a lot of things get affected. That's why the menstruation cycle in the women body, it get affected with the moonlit night versus dark moon night. There are a lot of advice for women when they're in a menstruation cycle. They have to follow certain guidance when the nature of the moon is known, and also there is a lot of other things, spiritual moon as well in our heart, because just like moon has this white days versus dark days, as you know, prophet do fasting in these 3 white days, the ayam el abiyad, the Saum, that's a sunnah, to do the fasting on the full moon days, the 13, 14, 15. So 14 is the full moon, just the night before and night after. Those 3 nights, those 3 days, it's a sunnah, the Nawawi, to do the every month this fasting. The optional tahajjud is an optional prayer. So optional fasting is those ayam el abiyat. And yeah, that's what I wanted to cover on that diagram.
Habibi, shall I continue?
Hmm? No,
Shall I
no,
continue?
but do you have other things to cover?
I just have
But do you want to
one.
go into then that paragraph which you just summarized, right? How
The
this functions, how it if it affects our mood, how it affects our imbalance. That's what one of the things we didn't cover in our
so,
last session of the topography,
so do you
because
know where I was talking about cold and dry and fog? If that part, I was talking about the depression. So I was talking about
mm,
section, the feelings of based on the cold and the dry aspect.
okay,
So cold and dry, fog is depression. That's the sensation of the human.
mm,
Hot and wet is the thunder, which is
mm,
the fear and hope. And then when it's finished, there's the joy or restfulness.
mm,
The hot and the dry is the humidity, and this is the anger, the agitation, the irritation of the psyche. And then the cold and the wet is the stormy kind of weather, which is this sadness, this fearness, this what's it called? Wanting to be comforted in a sense.
mm.
And this is ends up with the phlegm, where she relates things to the phlegm of she related this in her class. I remember they used the word phlegm for the cold
Yes,
and the
yes,
wet.
phlegm. Yes, phlegm
Well,
is
yeah.
one of the humor, right?
Mm.
Those 4 humor, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Phlegmatic and personality is affected by that as well.
exactly. Yeah,
Phlegmatic personality versus sanguine personality, but choleric personality. Yeah,
yeah,
which I showed that diagram in our last class. You
exactly.
remember?
Yeah,
Hmm?
yeah. Do you want me to go to that slide? So
What that
recollect or
diagram, the humor
yeah,
diagram.
do you want yeah, do you remember what page it was on?
No, that was one of my um, yeah, one of the page I have written in Word file. If you want, I
Hmm.
can show it
Let me stop
to
the
all of you
share.
guys,
Yeah,
so that because how it affects the temperament. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, let me share my screen, then you can see it. Uh, Basically, this is the four color of humors. You know, if you look at this diagram, this is again that Hakim, in his class, he was showing, this blood which is red, and it is always hot and it's wet, this the temperature. But this yellow, which is the yellow bile, which is coming out of our pancreas, so it releases this kind of juice and gastric juice, and then this phlegm, which is related to our nose and in our facial here, and also in between screen. If when we did the Qurbani, this we slaughtered the cow, we had to take out the skin, and in between the skin and the meat, these flames are there. Whole body has the flame. And then all the fluid, slippery, lala, we got what is this called? Saliva. That
Yeah.
saliva is also make our food to be slippery so that it can passes through our food canal. So those things are there. And then black bile is another which is secreted by what, liver, is it?
Mm. Mm, mm,
What is
mm.
the liver secretion? And then so those are the dry and cold, and then hot and dry is the one which is the this yellow bile. So and then if you look at that, how this akhlat, yellow bile, um, and then um, blood, phlegm, and black bile, how they are corresponding to our inner world is showing here. Summer, anger, this is related to yellow bile. When you are angry, your body secrete that. And there I have another chart. When you get angry, what happens to your body? How blood pressure get increased, how um, fight and no, it is called um,
Yeah.
yeah, but
Flight or fight mode. Yeah.
that go into that mood. So those sort of things. There is another chart. This is psychological related, but this blood is a sanguine, air, moist, wet, or joy, good nature, spring. Flam is the Arabic word is called um, bagoon. This is called dam. This is called sifr, yellow. Yellow, the Arabic word for yellow blood is the dam, dal mim. And then this balgum. How do you
Belgium.
spell it?
uh,
Balgam.
بلغم.
Balgam. Yeah, balgam. So, and that is the phlegmatic, watery and moist, and then cold, and it creates sadness. When you have a sadness, you have a excessive phlegmatic nature in your body. So and also you develop fear. When you develop fear, your body generates this phlegmatic more. And then black bile is sauda, which creates your personality melancholic, so a bit sad. So that is when you fall into depression mode. So and yeah, these are the um, fully proven Ibn Sina main book listed it, because Ibn Sina's book is still taught in the medical university. As you know, I don't know whether you know that that book is still part of their reference. Ibn Sina's original book, and it's still in the library. I heard from the medical student that some of them they had to go back to it because some books, Western books, refer to it. So, and this is based on exactly from that book. And Hakim is teaching us in that lecture, the Islam on Demand, and he's giving that lecture. And also, if you do diploma in Unani medicine or Ayurvedic medicine, you have to study these things. So personality traits, choleric is that one, this yellow bile stuff. And same thing is sanguine. If you are extrovert, talker, optimist, you have more of uh, this your blood, which is of course um, you have more blood nature when basically your blood is always warm, and that's why you feel the spring, or you feel the good nature in yourself, and you keep talking and you're smiling, you are connecting with people better. So when blood get cooler, your temperature is not that natural temperature, but as you know, your mood changes. Anyway, that's one of the thing I wanted to cover, but I wanted to go back to uh, Rad's presentations? Do you want it to go into from minerals to plants, or what do you think?
Like, we got what, half an hour left or?
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
cool.
do you want to go for questions or what?
No, no, I was just because I still got like, I really wanted to do two exercises, but because I think the time constraint, I'll just do like one exercise. But before that, I think Maham was just asking, I wanted to answer this the best way I could. She was like, could you explain how the moon is within our bodies? But this one I want to tackle in another form, which was in Surah Nazalat 79 30. There is a possibility in etymology as well that the word Dahaha, Daha or Dahaya is actually from egg shape, and it's describing the earth as an egg shape. And scientifically, they've recently shown that when the moon is going around the earth, the waters of the earth is pulling outwards towards the moon. And this is like what you're talking about, the menstruation cycle, but not only the menstruation cycle, this is not affecting only women, but men as well. And there are all these methodologies where they get the werewolf on the full moon. And actually, we look at ourselves, we're approaching, I don't know what the moon phase is right now, but we as men or as humans, we do feel this kind of sensitivity or some kind of change with the energy of the pulling of the moon and when it's a new moon as well. So subhanAllah, there's some connotation regarding it. And the egg, subhanAllah, me and Petro, we were talking about this egg shape, is that even in the way the noon is made, is that it's half. We were talking about this as well, about the halfness. But the egg symbolize the shell, subhanAllah, can symbolize the spirit. So in the inception period of the egg and the sperm, there is an electromagnetic wave that happened. This is not the act of the blowing yet. This is a form of the spirit, maybe, Allahu Alam. And once the fetus is designated, whether it's male or female, and the spirit is being blown in, the soul is being blown in, it is being blown inside the shell of the egg, which is the yolk. And the white inside the yolk could be Allah Alam, the angels that is protecting everything. The spirit is there, and then the angels are there containing the Qareen, the shaitan, the ego, the inner child, the queen, the kingdom, basically, as Ibn Arabi describes it, this kingdom inside which there is this constant battle. And I think maybe if we try to cook this egg and unify the yolk in the sense with the yellow, there is a union that we do not need to suppress anything, but there is an understanding amongst all that there is a union. And I think this is the equilibrium we're trying to get to this point. Inshallah, I hope so. But I hope that answers your question, Maham, in that regard about the moon and the feelings and all this stuff within our bodies. Noor, you want to say
Yeah,
something?
yes, the thing is the position of moon with respect to earth. There is a change in human being and change in earth. And same way, the earth, you're taking X shape. X shape is the orbit. The orbit, earth is moving around the sun. If you make those whole circle into 4 quadrant, those and wherever in each quadrant earth is, in each when earth is on the top quadrant, Australia, we are southern globe, we get the summer. Do you know why? Because Australia get closer to sun. But when earth goes to the bottom of that quadrant around the sun, then we get the winter. But you get the sun, you get closer to sun. Okay, so that's what no this is how we get the winter and you get this money, because when earth comes into the bottom of that orbit, the northern globe get the closer to the sun. And same way when it goes to the right and it goes to the left, east but then the west, and it gets the other, either spring or autumn. So because earth goes through this kind of changes with the position of with respect to the sun, same way all the 7 planets. In our last session, I showed this global the diagram, how the Earth, how Kursi, and all these 7 planets, and all this sphere, the ring of, or a sphere of air, a sphere of water, a sphere of all those things. It's all integrated in Ibn Arabi diagram, and it has a spiritual component, just like our physical body get affected with the position of the sun, moon, this 12 zodiac. There is a diagram in Ibn Arabi's book. I don't know. Do you have that book?
I don't have it
There's
in PDF.
a book from Ibn Arabi, and
But you have it on your PDF as well. Yeah.
it's called the mystical astrology. Yeah,
I have it.
yeah.
This
So
one.
in there, there is a diagram. Yeah, there is a diagram in the center of the book. It shows various divine name and how it affect the various position of the zodiac, those divine names, and how it affect the human being. So that's the link. Mahami, your question can be answered not only moon, every planet. Yeah.
Subhanallah, that was beautiful. And also, I think everyone should remember that. When is the next the second part of the Barzakh lecture? When is that one?
That's in 1 month later. It will be happening.
This December.
It's in December, but it's the first Sunday.
The first Sunday. Okay. Well, I know. I'll remind everyone, and I'll post it on the WhatsApp anyway.
Okay.
Because I will share as well. I've shared with a couple a lot. By the way, Noor, a lot of people are asking about your first lecture, and I sent it to them. I sent the link. Frank did. Like, there's a lot of interest in this, mashallah. But I think,
Alhamdulillah.
you
No,
know,
I wanted to share
it's a beautiful
what we are
lecture.
learning.
Yeah, it's a beautiful lecture, and there's so much information in there. It's just beautiful, mashallah. It's recommended to watch. Inshallah, I will remind people when it comes closer to the day, inshallah. So before we go to the next section, which is natural dispositions of plants, I want to share Dr. Hakim. I would just wait for his name to come up because I can't pronounce it. Excuse my ignorance. Hakim Archuletta, and Maham can correct me.
Archuletta.
Thank you, Habibi. Archuletta. Yeah. Okay. Sound is on. Is my sound on? I don't think I put the sound on.
You can reshare it when you are sharing. You have to select that tick that other box.
Where is it though?
No, you just and when you're going to share, just check the screen. There's a box there. Yeah.
Got it. Okay, so we're just going to watch about 2 minutes of this.
To flow outward. Everything in nature has an inclination towards expression. Like I said, in the springtime, the trees become tumescent and then burst forth their leaves, and then finally their blossoms, and then their fruit. And we're the same way. It wants to flow. So the energy medicine was not defined as energy medicine so much then, although Razi said in every substance, not just in the human body, but in every substance, in every fruit, everything has a body, a jism, it has a nafs, a personality, and it has a ruh, a spirit. In the modern homeopaths, the people who work with energy medicine, they say, Kent, one of the great American homeopaths, said you have to recognize that that's where the healing is. It's in the spirit of the material, the almond. My teacher, he was a master of what they call, in this tradition, they balanced the humors, but they also recognized that each substance in creation had an innate quality that was more than just its body. This is much more in the realm of jism. The peach has so much acids of certain kinds, so much sugars of certain kinds. It has some fiery fragrance of a particular type, wonderful kind of fragrance, right? The peach, the fresh peach. But the peach is one of the great remedies and medicines for the liver in this tradition. And this is the school of what they called simples. This school developed and reached its high point in Delhi, And then there was the other school of the mukarrabat, the combinations, 100 different ingredients put together. But in the really high, the Hakims that were considered really high in their practice were the ones that understood this single simple food has by its nature something in it that's healing and curative, that's beyond the sugars in it. The date, for example. Or the peach. And my teacher, you know, he recommended peaches for the liver. And I tell you, for anyone who's ever had problems with their liver, had gallstones, or ever had any kind of hepatitis, to eat fresh peaches in the springtime when they first come out, local, organic peaches, it's like breathing fresh air. So there was an understanding of energetic realities and unseen subtle realities. Peach. So Razi said everything has its personality and everything behaves in a certain way. A peach has a certain very dramatic personality, doesn't it? I mean, we use the term to say peachy. They're a peach of a, you know, I mean, because it so typifies something really beautiful, fragrant, delicious, juicy, wonderful, kind of perfect in a certain sense. But peach is also at the center of the universe in terms of its peachness. That's what I like to describe it. In terms of, in other words, contained in the peach is something that is unique. That's why they call them simples. It's a unique, the school of the Mufarid, the unique, single, simple thing. In the English language, they came to call them simples. My teacher was a master of the Mufaradat, the single, simple thing. And people used to come to him, and he'd say, they'd come with very serious illnesses.
So, that was very enlightening. So I wanted to, before we go even to the natural dispositions of, he was talking about the plants and the remedies of using these plants, and I just want to as well go into the other side of how internally as well, like the wounds that can heal as well. So I just want to get both aspects, not only using the natural dispositions of nature to remedy ourselves, but going into the psychic aspect of it. So I'm using a book that he actually recommended, which is called it's called Waking the Tiger, and this one is healing trauma, and I really do recommend everyone try. I'll share the PDF of it, and you can read it in your own on leisure. So if anyone wants to read, just go ahead. If not, and then anyone wants to read? Anyone? No takers? Maham, Arwa? He said,
Oh, I can read. Give me just 1 second.
take your time. And Hannah, you can read if you want as well.
Yeah, I can read the first paragraph.
Go
just
ahead.
and then Maham can do the other bit. Yeah. Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wounds that can heal. When a young tree is injured, it grows around the injury. As the tree continues to develop, the wound becomes relatively small in proportion to the size of the tree. Gnarls, burls, and misshapen limbs speak of injuries and obstacles encountered through time and overcome. The way a tree grows around its past contributes to its exquisite individuality. Since trauma is, its exquisite individuality, character, and beauty. I certainly don't advocate traumatization.
Traumatization is hard, I know. I felt okay.
Well, I can't, I'm really struggling without my glasses as well. Traumatization to build character. But since trauma is almost a given at some point in our lives, the image of the tree can be a valuable mirror.
Maham, do you want to carry on?
Sure. Although human beings have been experiencing trauma for thousands of years, it is only in the last 10 years that it has begun to receive widespread professional and public attention. Trauma is now a household word, with true confessions from stars appearing in weekly supermarket tabloids. In that context, trauma has been associated primarily with sexual abuse. In spite of growing professional interest and the sensationalism and saturation of the media, we see little evidence of trauma being healed. Statistics show that as many as 1 in 3 women and 1 in 5 men have been sexually abused as children. Even with the increased recognition of sexual abuse, there remains little understanding about the conditions necessary for its healing. For example, many traumatized individuals identify and cluster together as victims. While this can be a useful first step to healing, it can interfere with recovery if continued indefinitely. Sexual abuse is one of many forms of trauma. No matter what the source may be, we are much more likely to heal from the effects of trauma by creating a positive framework. The image of the mature tree, full of character and beauty, will serve us better than denying the experience or identifying ourselves as victims and survivors. Do I continue?
If anyone wants to jump in, jump in. If not, Maham can continue.
Yeah, I'll read a bit more.
Okay, great. Go for it, Habibi.
Sorry. The roots of trauma lie in our instinctual physiologies. As a result, it is through our bodies as well as our minds that we discover the key to its healing. Each of us must find these roots, realizing that we have a choice, perhaps one of the greatest in our lives. The healing of trauma is a natural process that can be accessed through an inner awareness of the body. It does not require years of psychological therapy, or that memories be repeatedly dredged up and expunged from the unconscious. We will see that the endless search for and retrieval of so-called traumatic memories can often interfere with the organism's innate wisdom to heal. My observations of scores of traumatized people has led me to conclude that post-traumatic symptoms are fundamentally incomplete physiological responses suspended in fear. Reactions to life-threatening situations remain symptomatic until they are completed. Post-traumatic stress is one example. These symptoms will not go away until the responses are discharged and completed. Energy held in immobility can be transformed, as we have seen in the cases of Bob Barkley and Nancy, see Chapter 2. Both of these people succeeded in a biological mobilization and discharge of survival energy that allowed them to return to full vitality. I'll do the next bit and then someone else.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
A bird. Oh,
sorry.
A bird that crashes into a window, mistaking it for open sky, will appear stunned or even dead. A child who sees the bird's collision with the glass may have a hard time keeping away from the wounded animal. The child pick up the bird up out of curiosity, concern, or a desire to help. The warmth of the child's hands can facilitate the bird's return to normal functioning. As the bird begins to tremble, it will show signs that it is reorienting to its surroundings. It may stagger slightly, try to regain its balance, and look around. If the bird is not injured and is allowed to go through the trembling reorienting process without interruption, it can move through its immobilization and fly away without being traumatized. If the trembling is interrupted, the animal may suffer serious consequences. If the child tries to pet the animal when it begins to show signs of life, the reorienting process may be disrupted, propelling the bird back into shock. If the discharge process is repeatedly disturbed, each successive state of shock will last longer. As a result, the bird may die of fright, overwhelmed by its own helplessness.
Anyone want to jump into although we rarely?
Although we rarely die, humans suffer when we are unable to discharge the energy that is locked in by the freezing response. The traumatized veteran, the rape survivor, the abused child, the impala, and the bird all have been confronted by overwhelming situations. If they are unable to orient and choose between fight or flight, they will freeze or collapse. Those who are able to discharge that energy will be restored. Rather than moving through the freeze response as animals do routinely, humans often begin a downward spiral characterized by an increasingly debilitating constellation of symptoms. To move through trauma, we need quietness, safety, and protection similar to that offered the bird in the gentle warmth of the child's hands. We need support from friends and relatives, as well as from nature. With this support and connection, we can begin to trust and honor the natural process that will bring us to completion and wholeness and eventually peace. Oliver Sacks, the author of Awakenings, a man who mistook his wife for a hat and migraine, describes in the third of these books the compelling attack of several patients. Migraines are a nervous system stress reaction that is quite similar and often related to post-traumatic freezing reactions. Sacks gives a fascinating account of a mathematician with a weekly migraine cycle. On Wednesday, the mathematician would get nervous and irritable. By Thursday or Friday, the stress would worsen so much that he was unable to work. On Saturday, he would become greatly agitated, and on Sunday, he would have a full-blown migraine attack. By that afternoon, however, the migraine had dissipated and died away. In the wake of the migraine discharge, the man experienced a creative, hopeful rebirth. On Monday and Tuesday, he would feel refreshed, rejuvenated, and renewed. Calm and creative, he would work effectively until Wednesday, when the irritability started again, and the whole cycle would repeat. By using medication to alleviate this patient's migraine symptoms, Sacks realized that he had also blocked the man's creative source. Dr. Sacks laments, "When I cured this man of his migraines, I also cured him of his mathematics. Along with the pathology, the creativity also disappeared." Sacks explains that patients may break into a gentle sweat and pass pints of urine in what he described as a physiological catharsis after migraine attacks. Such reactions did not occur when the man was medicated. Similarly, gentle beads of warm sweat often accompany the resolution and healing of trauma. In moving through apprehensive chills to mounting excitement and waves of moist, tingling warmth, the body, with its innate capacity to heal, melts the iceberg created by the deeply frozen trauma. Anxiety and despair can become a creative wellspring when we allow ourselves to experience bodily sensations, such as trembling, that stem from traumatic symptoms. Held within the symptoms of trauma are the very energies, potentials, and resources necessary for their constructive transformation. The creative healing process can be blocked in a number of ways: by using drugs to suppress symptoms, by overemphasizing adjustment and control, or by denying or invalidating of feelings and sensations.
I think we should conclude there on that
Yeah.
reference.
I just
So-
recommend everyone to carry on reading this, like in their own time. The trauma is not a disease, but a disease. It's a very interesting aspect.
If you
of
like, you
that.
can share this link to us.
I'll share that the PDF, and I'll share everything on the WhatsApp group, inshallah. I wanted
I
to
just
do
wanted
one thing,
to-
but there's no time. I
Yeah,
really
there's
wanted
no
to do
time. That's why I just
Yeah.
wanted to show you that it's coming in how to heal, how we feel. So how in this methodology, it actually look at underdeveloped temperance, overdeveloped temperance, self-restraint, self-esteem, and then as you see here, greed, envy. So various parts of the Enneagram, how we use it, it will show us how we do these things. And then if we
And it's
go
always
into,
putting the 7 deadly sins, subhanallah. It's using the
yeah,
7 sins.
yeah. So and then as you see how we act, how to heal, how we act. So this is our behavior. So this one is how we feel, which is our effect in our body, and then how we heal, how we act. So cowardice, behavior, rashness, and fear of other than God. So and various parts how we apply those. So basically, this diagram will help us to assess our situation through our feeling five senses through our mind, and of course, this system or methodology or process, what we suggested this, and also there are other options, medical versus, here he's saying diet is one option, medication is another option, poisoning, what it means we'll explain, healing the self, and then surgery. So this is the intrusive. So there are various ways which will be healing us and also getting rid of vices and culture virtues. How we do that, and those sort of things will be coming up. I just wanted to give you this,
That's beautiful. I love
bringing
that. I
back
love
to
that.
Enneagram so that we don't
Exactly.
get lost in the other
Yeah.
world. Yeah.
What I wanted to do, if everyone can, it's not a homework, it's just a reflection kind of piece, because we have no more time for this.
Mm.
That I was actually going to do a guided meditation to get to this. It's like a case study for ourselves, and I just wanted you to take 5 minutes out of your own time. And after we heard Hakim talking about the peach, and we were reading about trees, and we were hearing about whale, all of these kind of activation was absorbed by the mind. I just wanted you to close your eyes, take a couple of deep breaths, guide your air to go inside your lungs, and then it goes into your gut, then it goes into your hips, goes to your knees, go to your toes, and then in the exhalation, it coming all the way back from your toes, all the way up and then out. And after that, you just digest a little bit, breathe in normally, exhale normally 3 times, kada. And then I want you to just, in that whole process that have guided you, we're in the forest, and just imagine what's the first plant or animal you see, and just write down what this animal or plant is, what this object is, what this creation is, and leave that aside. You come back into awakeness, and maybe write a poem about it, write a little story about it. Just see how you connect with this. I wanted that to just come out. And if you can't write anything, just the animal or the plant you chose is more than enough. And we can all share that in the next lesson, inshallah, if that's all right, Noor, because there's something behind it, inshallah.
Okay, many thanks.
Okay.
Many thanks for attending. Rhythm in time, the breath is part of the dynamics section of this particular book. So how the breathing, we just create a natural rhythm. That's one of the part of balancing. How we do that, that's advice is there from, and how music helps us also to bring the harmonic order in our mind. And we'll use those sort of concept and ideas as we go along. So with that note, is there any question? If we have question, we can discuss. Otherwise, you can conclude our session. Many thanks, Yasmin.
Thank you, Yasmin. Alhamdulillah.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Have a good rest of the week, or start a new week from tomorrow, and then see you next Sunday. Or not Sunday, alternate Sunday. Yeah.
2 weeks.
2 weeks. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum.